We have to stop asking, do we have the right accommodations? And we need to start asking, what is this student actually able to access, understand, and here's the clinger, contribute throughout the day? Because that is a very different question. Here's what usually happens in reality. The teacher teaches. If there's an interpreter, the interpreter interprets. The specialist pulls out or comes in to support, and the student adapts. They figure out where to look. They're trying to fill in gaps. They're deciding when it's appropriate to ask for repetition, and they manage a lot of confusion quietly. So even when the system works, the student is still the one who's doing the hardest job in the room. And that's not access. My name is Stefanie Kessen, and I have been in the field of deaf ed for more than 30 years. As the founder of the Online Itinerant, I have supported over 1,000 teachers, and this topic comes up again and again and again because there is a difference between being in the room and actually having access to what's going on in the room. What many hard of hearing students are doing all day long is managing an invisible workload. They are constantly deciding, where do I look? What did I miss? How do I jump into the conversation? And all of that, it's a heavy cognitive load. And over time, our students get really good at compensating. They infer, they mask confusion, they learn how to follow patterns, they get really good at looking like they understand. Compensation is not access. And when a student gets good at compensating, the adults miss that the system is falling short. It looks like everything's fine, but then you ask them to respond or apply or go do something, and you realize they were faking it. There's a gap. This is not because they're not capable. This is not because they're not trying. And the difference matters because when we mistake presence for access, then we're building systems that look supportive, but it's actually leaving the student doing most of the work just to keep up. Usually when we talk about access, we're talking about accommodations. These are things like the interpreter, the DM system, preferential seating, visuals, notes. All of those things are great. These things do matter. But here's the problem. Too many teams stop right there. They check the boxes and they assume that the access is handled. But accommodations, let me say this again. Hear this. Accommodations don't guarantee comprehension. They don't guarantee participation. And they definitely don't guarantee a feeling of belonging. Because a student can have every support in place and still be missing huge parts of what's happening. Here's the piece that is most often overlooked, and the one that I really want to lean into today. Learning is social, and it requires buy-in. A huge amount of learning doesn't come from the teacher. It comes from peers. It comes from quick side comments and group discussions and clarifying questions that the other kids are having. It comes from that shared problem solving that kids get when they're talking with each other. And yet, many of our IEP plans are designed in a way that the only communication that matters is that of the teacher. And that's a major gap. Because when peer access is weak, then our students miss the clarifying moments, the natural repetition, the opportunities to contribute, and the chances to feel like they truly belong. And over time, that impacts confidence, participation, and identity. I hear it over and over and over again. So we have to stop treating peer access like it's a bonus because it's not a bonus, it's not extra, it's essential. Okay, so what do we need to change? I want to give you 2 high impact shifts. Shift number 1, stop planning for the student and start planning with the student. The student knows what we don't know. They know when they're lost. They know which situations are hardest. They know where they thrive. So why don't we ask them? Why don't we have them participate in this discussion more? We need to hear from them what works, what helps them, what makes discussions effective, what makes group work hard. And after we talk with them, we need to use their answers. Because when the student is part of the team, our support improves. And the student builds real agency and true buy-in in their own education. Shift number 2, plan for peer access. Don't plan for just teacher access. So we need to be actively asking these questions. How will the student access group work? How will peers communicate effectively with the students? How will turn taking be supported? And just as important, how will peers access our students? Because the goal is not only receptive communication, the goal is for them to be able to contribute and be an equal member of the classroom community, because that's what creates belonging. This doesn't require complicated systems, and it doesn't have to wait until high school or even middle school. It should be happening early, as soon as you can within that child's education. This doesn't require complicated systems. Very normal things, such as clear communication norms, having students face the group when speaking, having structured discussions, repeating everybody's comments afterwards. These are very small shifts, but they create really big access, because this doesn't happen by accident. This happens by design. But I recognize whatever we do, we have to make it sustainable, because I can talk about the perfect scenario, but real classrooms are messy. People are absent, your schedules are constantly changing, and that support isn't always perfectly aligned. If you set up a system that's in place that requires one adult to be present all the time or two adults to always be present, then your system is going to break. We need to create systems that hold up no matter what. So that means that the teacher understands access as part of instruction, and that the specialist, me or any other specialist on the team, comes in and supports the system and the structure. We need to ensure that the student has a voice and is comfortable using it. And we need to make sure that peers are part of the communication environment. That right there is real teamwork. And when this works, when we've got this system in place, everything shifts. The student isn't just keeping up, but the student is contributing. They're part of that classroom community. They're connecting. That's the goal. It's not just to access the content and the academics, it's having access to the community and feeling like they belong. So if you are supporting a deaf or hard of hearing student, here are the questions that matter. Is the student part of the planning? Have we built in peer access? Are we reducing cognitive load? Are we checking for real understanding? And does the system work even if someone is absent? You want to make sure that you have created a true inclusive classroom community. Because hear me when I say this, better support is not about doing more. It's about having the systems in place and the right people at the table. We need to make the student a real, active, valuable part of the team, starting now. If this is a conversation that you need to be engaging with more, then I want to invite you to go deeper. I want to invite you to join me inside the Professional Academy, because this is exactly the kind of work that we build together. We build systems, we talk about collaboration, and we connect with real change in the classrooms. Because at the end of the day, this is not about adding more to your caseload. It's about creating a quality system that improves over time so that the student doesn't have to work so hard to access it. They can actually learn, they can connect, and best of all, they can lead it. That's when inclusion becomes real, and that's when we truly start empowering our students. And honestly, that's what it's all about. That's why we're here. So if you want to connect more, I want to invite you to join the Professional Academy. Click on the link and come join me.